I'm very happy that we gathered here to start activities of the Institute for Management Research at Collegium Civitas. So the schedule of today's meeting will be the following. The first person who will speak will be Professor Stanisław Mocek, the rector of our university, and then Dr. Katarzyna Iwińska, Deputy Rector for Scientific Research. After we will hear a lecture made by Professor Łukasz Sułkowski on humanistic management paradigms, identities and paradoxes. After the lecture, which will take around 30 minutes, we will have discussion about the future of our institute, the future of humanistic management. So now I am giving the floor to Professor Mocek, the rector of Collegium Civitas.
Dzień dobry wszystkim uczestnikom tutaj na sali i naszych gości online. Ja króciutko, trochę o historii. Tak już najczęściej o historii mówię. Zaczęło się od tego, że w 1997 roku, jak powstała uczelnia, przez wiele lat byliśmy pod patronatem Instytutów Polskiej Akademii Nauk, Instytutów Nauk Społecznych głównie, ale w pewnym momencie, związane było to też z prawodawstwem, zdecydowaliśmy się na samodzielną działalność naukową. I wiodące do tej pory były dwie dyscypliny, czyli to, co się obecnie nazywa naukami socjologicznymi, a dawniej socjologią, i nauki o polityce i administracji. I myślę, że odnieśliśmy w ubiegłym roku wielki sukces, ponieważ otrzymaliśmy z tych dwóch dyscyplin uprawnienia zarówno doktorskie, jak i habilitacyjne. Ale w momencie, kiedy w Collegium Civitas powstał kierunek zarządzanie, także myśleliśmy o tym, aby z czasem stopniowo po uzyskaniu magisterium przystąpić także do działalności naukowej. No i to się właśnie stało. Jesteśmy świadkami tej historycznej chwili, kiedy pod kierownictwem pana doktora Michała Szostaka formuje się zespół pracowników badawczo-dydaktycznych Collegium Civitas i mogę wyrazić z tego powodu tylko duże zadowolenie, że ten nowy zespół stanie się z czasem widoczny na mapie różnych instytutów i jednostek naukowych związanych z zarządzaniem, dyscypliną, która się chyba nazywa zarządzanie i nauki o zarządzaniu i jakości. Tak. I obyśmy też, jeśli zachowane zostaną obecne zasady ewaluacji, abyśmy mogli przystąpić także do ewaluacji naukowej już w tym sezonie. Także życzę Państwu efektywności w pozyskiwaniu grantów, w pisaniu artykułów i książek, artykułów, które mogą być publikowane w dobrych, renomowanych, zagranicznych czasopismach i rozwoju, a także myślę takiej zespołowej działalności, która się będzie tutaj wykluwała. Mini zespoły, większe zespoły, starania o granty. Myślę, że jesteśmy krótko po nowej sytuacji politycznej, która w Polsce się rodzi. Myślę, że reguły staną się bardziej przejrzyste i zarówno też właśnie te wątki ewaluacyjne, jak i wątki starań o granty będą według transparentnych reguł, które umożliwią Państwu no właśnie takie efektywną pracę na rzecz Instytutu, ale też myślę dla samorozwoju, dla własnego rozwoju. Stworzony zostanie tutaj bardzo przyjazny klimat, nie wątpię w to znając pana Michała. A taki dobry klimat też będziecie Państwo mieli tutaj z naszej strony, z mojej, pani prorektor i naszego zespołu rektorskiego. Także jeszcze raz dziękuję za stworzenie podwalin pod Instytut i życzę owocnej działalności. Dziękuję bardzo.
Short abbreviation of the speech of Professor Mocek. Professor Mocek was very glad that we are starting the activities of the third institute at Collegium Civitas. The first was the Institute for Sociology, the second one of Political Sciences. In short, Professor Mocek said a lot of words, but everything in short was that he loves us and he is happy that we are growing, we are starting. I will try to be a good pilot of this plane, so I hope that everybody will reach the destination on time and we will not lose anybody in this journey. So the second speaker will be Dr. Iwińska, Katarzyna Iwińska, who is the Deputy Rector for Scientific Research.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I will speak in English. Immediately I need to say that we didn't exactly exchange with Professor Mocek and Rector of Collegium Civitas what we are going to talk about. So yeah, I first need to say that this is a historic moment for all of us. And as the Rector already mentioned, this is a great change, and from our side, it's also great expectations. It means that we gather here to inaugurate the new Institute for Management Research, and that's a crucial thing. We added the management research, the word research in it, so that we show that this is an academic research and that our academia in Collegium Civitas is growing. And we are really ambitious to work together, to think and interdisciplinary way, but as a team of management, research, and other social sciences. So as already was mentioned, we started 26 years ago as Social and Political Sciences two institutes, and now we've got a new institute, and there is I have no doubt that that the leader and the author of the name,
the fourth.
will, yeah, exactly. That's the leader and the author of this new institute will lead the team towards not only our greatest achievements, but also towards our well-being and good prosperity in terms of research. So that's really ambitious, I know. And I wouldn't be myself if I didn't mention also an aspect of publications. So we have a matrix, which I maybe write here. I know I have a short time. I wouldn't be long, but just a matrix of outcomes and expectations, as I said. We are in the middle of evaluation process. So here, yeah, I would just say that this is the end of this year already. So we have 2 years of showing that the new institute and then the team established here is going to works and progressively shows the academic outcomes. That means that 2024 and 2025 is really tough time because it's only 2 years to have the outcomes. And in terms of achievements, we hope that Institute will get the highest impact factor publications. And I know that it is hard, especially these times, and get at least 1, 2 research projects from outsiders, from other scientific institutions, other founders. This is the must, because there are already 2 years lost, let's say, but it's not lost. It's just 2 years of establishing and of thinking of this. And I hope that the beautiful minds of the interdisciplinary and greatest researchers here, we can do that. From our side, again, from the Department of Scientific Research and the administration of Collegium Civitas, we will help you. So this is not only on your side, but the publications and projects are the greatest needs. But at the moment, we are just happy to see you first time with some of you. And I hope that we can collaborate in more informal ways in the next few months, so that we'll get to the outcomes and achievements that are, as we already set up, ambitious.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And yeah, keep fingers crossed for you. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Welcome guests who came during the speeches. So now I will make a short introduction about what are we going to do and with whom, because this is quite, or I think the most important thing. We know what to do, but the team is the clue of everything. That's why I gathered as many great people as I could. So I spent whole holidays, whole vacations to make marketing activities of our institute. So the general structure of our institute will be the following. We have at this point 15 very important researchers, worldwide well-known. I will list their names from countries like the USA, the United Kingdom, Nigeria, Malaysia, Finland, France, Slovakia, Lithuania, Switzerland. They will be our patrons, our advisory board, who, let's say, will help us to show directions. So among them, this is always the problem, in which order should I present very important people? So I tried to make a kind of, let's say, contextual order. So because of different issues, I created the team of godfather and godmother of our institute. So our godmother is Professor Mary Jo Hatch, one of the leading persons in the organization's theory. And our godfather, Professor Antonio Strati, who is present online. Professor Mary Jo Hatch couldn't be online because it is around 4 a.m. at her time. So she said she preferred to paint her paintings instead of waking up. So Professor Strati, welcome. You as our godfather, the father of organizational aesthetics. Professor Antonio Strati works at Department of Sociology at University of Trento. So welcome. Yes. Then we have a group of researchers connected with art of management and organization. So in the person of Steve Taylor from USA, from Worcester Polytechnic Institute Business and School. Steve is a professor of leadership and creativity. He is also not present, but I have recordings of their speeches for the last part of our meeting, so you will see them. Then we have Professor Stephen Lindsted, who is present here. Yes, you see, this is beautiful man. Professor Stephen is a professor of management humanities at the University of York, also involved in art of management and organization. I need to let in another guest. And also Professor Jenna Ward. I don't know if Jenna is among us. However, Jenna is professor at Coventry University. She's director of this organization. She organized great conferences in the whole world about the humanistic management and those areas in which I would like to focus our institute. Then I gathered people from so-called humanistic management network. So this is a worldwide organization connected, gathered researchers in the area of humanistic management. So at the first place, I need to speak about Ernst von Kimakowicz, a doctor from Switzerland. He is a co-founder and the head of this organization. Also, Professor Kemi Ogunemi from Nigeria, from Lagos Business School, agreed to be among our advisory board members. Then we go to Poland, to our Warsaw University friends. So starting with Professor Monika Kostera, who is present online with us. Professor Kostera is leading sociologist and anthropologist of management and organizations, currently involved at the work at the University of Warsaw. Welcome, Professor Kostera. Also, we have Professor Tomasz Ochinowski, who collaborates with Professor Kostera. This guy has a big heart in which we all can feel in, and there will be still a lot of space. So I am very happy that we started our activities, and I am sure that something good will be born of this marriage. Then I need to mention Professor Sułkowski from Jagiellonian University, who is also now deputy rector for scientific research at AWSB Academy at Dąbrowa Górnicza in Poland. Then Professor Janne Tienari from Finland, professor of management and organization at Hanken School of Economics. Professor Vincent Degot, from retired at this point researcher at École Polytechnique from Paris, who was one of the first who started call manager as an artist. So it was a new approach to management, in which we will speak a little later. We have among us Professor Andrea Czajkowa from Slovakia. She is vice rector for international relations at the University in Trnava. Do we have a Professor Andrea among us? I don't see, but she wanted to be here, but she had a car accident a few days ago. Unfortunately, everything is fine, but this was the reason, that's why she's not here. We also have Professor Manuela Tvaronavičienė from Lithuania, professor of economics from Vilnius Gediminas Technical University, who is also director of Entrepreneurship and Sustainability Center. They have quite nice journal. Unfortunately, only 70 points in the Polish scale, but they are growing in the international, let's say, classification. So let's hope that the Polish ministry will, let's say, evaluate this journal better. Professor Abdul Rahman from Malaysia, from International University, who is present. I saw his face among us. So this is the board of Professor Rahman is here. Welcome. So this is the main core of our advisory board. So the second, let's say, part, the second group of our institute will be us. So researchers who do the main job, we are employed at Collegium Civitas. So we have 10 people in this team. This group I will mention in the alphabetic order. So everything is, let's say, under the control. The first on the list is Professor Małgorzata Baran, who is with us. She's, let's say, involved in human resource management and project management. I will mention only the main areas of interest. Then we have Dr. Muhammad Kamran, our friend from Pakistan, but the heart is, I think, in half Polish. Now, Professor Dr. Kamran is interested in leadership, organizational behavior, workplace spirituality, which is very important from the humanistic management point of view. We have Dr. Marlena Kondrat. She is here, of course. Dr. Kondrat is interested in innovation management, new technologies in management, generational diversity management. Polish society and all European societies are getting older, so we also need to investigate these issues. Next on the list is Professor Dr. Piotr Kosiak, who is online with us, this beautiful guy in a white shirt. Professor Kosiak is connecting humanities and social sciences. This would be I think the most suitable description of his activities. I think spirituality of Dr. Kamran and theological approach, values approach from Professor Kosiak, they can be quite, let's say, important. They may have quite important impact on our activities. We have Dr. Adrian Lis. I didn't saw him on the list, but Dr. Lis is involved in strategical alliances and clusters of companies. Then we have Associate Professor Dr. Eliza Nowacka. She is interested scientifically in sustainability, diversity, and inclusivity management. We have Dr. Roland Patz, who is now here present, also interested in leadership, behavioral, and managerial economics. We have Dr. Mudassira Sarfraz, also lady from Pakistan. I don't see Mudassira. Yes, no, not present here, but she is researching women's participation in the labor force, as well women's economic empowerment. And myself, I am deeply interested in management aesthetics. So gathering things from aesthetic, from the philosophy, from the aesthetics, from arts, and putting those theories and experiences into the management. Because in fact, if we know, management historically was more industrial management than market management. And now, let's say, we are growing in humanistic approach. So theoretically, art, in my opinion, is one of the most humanistic among all humanistic activities. So we can speak that management is a kind of art, because we can teach students what to do with projects, what to do with finance, but the issue is always what to do with those things which we teach to them. So this is a kind of art of achieving goals. So this is a group of our researchers, and this is not the end, because we have a group of associate researchers. This is the longest group, at this point around 20 people. So we know that this is quite important to do research not only in our team, but to do activities internationally. So I gathered also people from India, Poland, of course, Italy, Algeria, United Kingdom, USA. I will shortly describe them. We have Associate Professor Sharmila Sagra. She is here. Professor Sagra is from India, from Anand National University in Gujarat. She is a sculptor, but also researcher in the area of visual arts. So we will do activities which are generally called interdisciplinary approach. So that's why it is very good to have people who has experience in different areas, because in fact, management, it is a mix of different things. Then we have Professor Iga Maria Lehmann. She was present online, as I remember. Professor Lehmann is focused in linguistics, in leadership, in intercultural management. So quite important, quite growing area of interest in humanistic management is discourse analysis. How writing about something, how speaking about something shapes the result or shapes the intentions of the person who is talking about. We have Professor Aneta Eismont. She is the professor of the University of Radom, a Polish university. She is focused on cooperative connections between small and medium-sized enterprises. Among us, we have Professor Anna Maria Migdał, who is interested in intercultural management in generally speaking. We have also Professor Anna Bąkiewicz. She is a professor of economics, but also involved in research on marketing. Then doctors who are involved with us. Dr. Alessandro Nicola Maluza, doctor from Cambridge University, quite fresh, but he is with us. He should be here, but I don't. He stays here. He is clothing historian, but how to connect clothing historian with management? Think about, let's say, fashion at the companies, any kind of dress codes, how those things may implement, let's say, human behavior or general organizational activities. Yes, then we have Dr. Jalel Bagzou from Algeria, from the University of Constantine III. He is a visual artist. I think he is present online. With him, we started to analyze the visual arts market, how recipients of the visual arts behave according to different factors. We have Dr. Anthony Hoyt-West, linguist, and he's interested in discourse analysis from the United Kingdom. We have Dr. Małgorzata Weyer, who is working on family businesses, and now we work on the project on negative sides of family businesses, because all people are speaking that family businesses are one of the most important, that familiness is one of the most important thing in business, but I would say that familiness has also negative sides, so we are trying to discuss those things. We have Dr. Justyna Dziedzic, interested in management in cultural sector. Dr. Artur Modliński, he should be present online. Dr. Modliński is interested in artificial intelligence, digitalization of art and management. So those areas of interest are also shared by Dr. Ada Florentyna Pawlak, who probably is also present with us online. And then we have a few doctorate candidates. Jagoda Marcinkiewicz, psychologist, manager. Jagoda is digging the issue of creative identity of manager. Dzień dobry, witamy panią profesor. We have Dariusz Jakubiak, also psychologist and manager. We have Anna Harężlak, who is doing research in communication in management. We have Katarzyna Pioida, interested in project management. We have Asala Belsem, also a PhD candidate from University of Constantine from Algeria. And also we have Kenneth Jeholskie, anthropologist from Washington, DC. So this is, let's say, around 40 people who will support our activities, and doing activities with them, we have internationalization, we have ideas, we have, let's say, bigger impact, better momentum. So welcome again. Thank you for your access to this project. I didn't offer anybody anything in exchange. So thank you that you believe me on my word. So I will try to, let's say, create something from our cooperation. Now is the time for a short lecture, 30 minutes of lecture on humanistic management. Maybe one short description why I suggest or I decided to focus our institute on humanistic management. Firstly, I said, till, let's say, the end of 20th century, management was more focused on mechanical organization, treating people as like assets. We move them as we need. Then market approach, the client is the most important. So one group of people must do anything what is important or what is the demand from another group of people. Last 2-3 decades, humanistic approach is starting to grow, and the humanistic management is focused on humanistic side of the organization. People are not only the resources of the organization, they create the organization. So we cannot treat them as pieces of machinery. We need to treat them with their dignity, to underline those things, because not only economic profit of the owners of the business as people are important, but also the well-being, let's say, of all people of the organization are important. So that's why I think humanistic management is very inclusive, because we can gather all sub-disciplines of management, put it here, but also this leads us on, or brings us to the, let's say, to the front of researchers who do those activities. So every person of us will have a little bit different approach to humanistic management. However, I think this will be the common denominator of our activities. So now it's time for kick-off lecture about humanistic management, its paradigms, identities, and paradoxes. I asked Professor Sułkowski to make a lecture.
Thank you very much for the invitation to Collegium Civitas for the opening of the Institute of Management. I'm very glad that the orientation of the Institute will be humanistic management. So on the invitation of Dr. Michał Szostak, I prepare my presentation about the humanistic management, and I would like to begin with a classic metaphor of Gareth Morgan. I mean, an elephant and the blinds, right? Humanistic management is a part of the perspective in management sciences, and going on with cognitive endeavor, we can have the many perspective. One of them, important one, is taken out from the humanistic sciences. We can perceive it like an epistemology of the organization and management that in consequences builds a methodology and also practical methods of the management of the organizations. Epistemology will take into account many cognitive assumptions, like meaning of the discipline, basic terms, kind of the scientific methods that are proposed, paradigms, metaphors, ideologies, paradoxes, and so on and so on. On the level of the methodology of cognition, we will have the many research methods and research techniques that can be splitted on the several axes, and on the level of the pragmatic method, we have thus organizational and management methods, techniques of management, how to lead, how to organize, how to make the managerial decisions. Taking into account humanistic management, we would like to emphasize that this is the kind of the non-fundamentalistic epistemology that, let's say, ambiguous and variable definition of the organization and the subject of the management, depending on the field. If we are saying about the kind of the inspiration taken out from art, for example, which is the subject of interest of Michał, we can perceive many possible interpretations, perceive management as an art, as an craft, as an science, and play in between of these different kind of the understanding and practice. Let's say different concept of research itself, relationships between object and subject, understanding of the truth definition of the rationality, fundamentalistic definition of the rationality. It's management of science as a fully rational endeavor. In non-fundamentalistic epistemology, management science, art and craft as a cultural endeavor. So a kind of the tension in between these two ways of understanding the problem of the limit of a discipline. Let's say from the fundamentalistic epistemology, always thinking about the strong barriers like silos of the management. And for non-fundamentalistic epistemology, the subject of management has been fluid, changing boundaries, blurred boundaries, and this is the source of the creativity, right? Okay, so we can even go further, going on from fundamentalism in methodology, like necessity of use scientific method, one scientific method, usually this neo-positivistic one, no possibility to use the mixed method. Let's say question of the one method as the maturity of the discipline and the verification or falsification as a meta method of understanding. In humanistic management, we are going on more with a pluralistic approach. Many scientific methods, possibility to use the mixed method, and the criteria of cognitive efficiency, a pragmatic or a neo-pragmatic approach to explanation. We can also mention the eclecticism and anarchism going on with Paul Feyerabend term. However, I think that the main tension is in management is in between of the fundamentalism and pluralism in methodology. Okay, going on with some kind of the illustration of that, management and the quality sciences. This is the official name of the discipline in Poland. Very strange, actually, if we are trying to translate it into English. It sounds, what does it mean, this quality? This is the qualitative approach. This is the quality management. What is the source of that? This is just the illustration of these boundaries and the historical, social and cultural determinants of the scientific disciplines. In Poland, 2018, it was done the reform of science, and the names of the many disciplines has been changed. And in management, historically, because of the economical universities, the discipline that was concentrated on the knowledge of the materials was added to management. So we have management and quality sciences like this part of the quality management. Strange, historical, Polish, tough to translate in the other direction. Just the illustration from here. We know that the management is like an umbrella. We are using many approaches taken out from the engineering, economical sciences, even life sciences, and also humanities. And this is the focus of this lecture: organization as an activity approach, management like a social process, intersubjective perspective, symbolic interactionism or critical approach, methodology, inductive, deductive, but also constructivist social research method, and the concentration on the social processes. Of course, we must return to the classical term of the paradigm by Thomas Kuhn, because management is multi-paradigm science. Even humanistic management is a multi-paradigm. We cannot show the one dominant school or one dominant approach. So thinking about the paradigms as a consensus omnium, we are not thinking about the consensus omnium of most of the management scholars or even most of the humanistic management scholars. And it's like looking outside of the box, looking outside of the existing perspective. As a multi-paradigm science, we have a diversity of approaches, schools, lack of the common epistemological assumptions that are for all of these schools, disputed basic concepts, even organization management strategy or organizational structure, many methods of research, and in some way we can be similar to other humanistic and social sciences. Different possibility of make the paradigm classification. So we can go on with the subdisciplines of the management and tell, okay, this is the strategic management, marketing, human resources management, and so on and so on. However, it will be quite dispersed perspective, and from the other side, we cannot use this perspective splitting humanistic management versus the other approaches, because, for example, in management or in human capital management, we can use both perspectives, functionalistic and humanistic. Schools of management by chronology, what we are teaching students, yes, scientific management, founder, Frederick Winslow Taylor, and then administrative management, and the human relations school, Elton Meyer, and so on and so on. Here, this historical approach doesn't work, especially after the Second World War, where we have the big split and the specialization in the whole discipline. Different researchers proposing their own perspective, like Mary Jo Hedge, Paul Johnson, and Lee, Bowman, and Deal. This is different way how to describe the paradigms. It looks that the proposal of the split of the paradigms proposed by Barrell and Morgan is the most dispersed, the most popular in management. Actually, I have the pleasure to participate in an American Academy of Management conference several years ago, when the prize for Barrell and Morgan was given from the grateful community of organizational researchers. That meaning of this concept of the paradigms is crucial. Of course, using this split, we can say we are thinking about the social and humanistic sciences not only as some kind of the mirroring of the reality, some kind of the description of the reality. This is just one function of the science, but actually function of the humanistic sciences, philosophy before used to be also changing the world, right? So making this division, we can build some kind of the four paradigms: functionalism, which is concentrated on the objective perspective and description of the reality using the causal perspective; interpretativism, that is characteristic to humanistic approach and take into account cultural, interpretative, sense-making approach; critical theory, from the definition, radical approach, and these kind of the greed of power that is hidden under the social and organizational reality, and the postmodernism, looking at the neo-positivistic, functionalistic, systemic paradigm. This is the perspective that is quite rare if we are using the humanistic approach. However, we can use it as a part of the mixed method. For example, we can use the program of research that is quantitative and qualitative and join together these points of view. So verification of truth using objective quantitative methods, analytical approach, and the axiological neutrality. This is we as researchers, we are the outside observers, right? So quantitative methodology, statistically representative, standardized, respondent control, survey method, observational method, para-experimental methods, documentary methods, used in many areas of the management. However, if we want to criticize a bit quantophrenic approach, everything we would like to measure. This is like Lord Kelvin proverb: if I cannot measure something in science, do not exist. We know from humanistic perspective, this is not the reality. Many insights taken out from the from art, from humanistic sciences, cultural anthropology, even philosophy, they do not give us opportunity to measure. And the measure, especially taken out this quantophrenic approach, it's a kind of the danger of lack of the dialogue with the respondent, a lack of the reflexivity in the interpretation process. So we can say maybe in many cases less representativeness in research in management, but more deep understanding. So interpretivistic approach or interpretivistic symbolism arose in opposition to functionalism, George Herbert Mead, inspiration from cultural anthropology, sociology, psychology, and the approach is social constructivism, a cognitive role of the language, entanglement of cognitive activities in practice, and of course, qualitative methodology. This social constructivism means that we are shaping the reality, that the reality is created by the human actors, that we are builders of the reality, and it is in the subjective reality, mainly in a network of people in our heads, right? Social constructivism and the creation of the reality was used by many scholars in management. We can mention a classic one approach to leadership, strategic management by Carl Wake, for example. So meaning of the language and the cultural relative is entanglement in practice. So we are changing the reality, we are shaping the reality, and then we are changing the perception and interpretation of this reality. So management is the symbolic activity, organization is the symbolic activity. Interpretativist methodology is in some way common with the humanistic sciences and or humanistic orientations in sciences like cultural anthropology, sociology, or psychology. And we can mention just psychological methods of management taken out from Gestalt, for example, anthropology of organization, ethnomethodology, sociology of intervention, a grounded theory, of course, as an important part of the humanistic methodology, methods of case studies, extended case studies, comparative case studies, participatory action research as an intervention. This part of the approach that we would like to intervene in a reality because we are not neutral observers. We are axiologically involved in this reality. And we can look for conversational analysis, discourse, text analysis using the qualitative approach here. So as in neo-positivistic functionalistic orientation, we will have the one canonic scientific method which is used to verification or falsification. Here we have a jungle of the methods using these humanistic inspirations and use for interpretivistic research of organizational culture and identity, image, human management, change management, information management, strategic management, and so on and so on. If we want to be critical to this methodology, it is very heterogeneous. It's the results that are tough to compare. It is not suitable for studying mass processes and phenomena, from definition subjective, which is strong and the weak side, of course. It raises problems sometimes with the reliability of the results, and the involvement of the researcher may raise ethical objections, like, for example, auto anthropology or dual anthropology. It's very easy to identify the description of the other people, and it must be very careful crafted from one side to give the deep insight, from the other side not to be harmful for the people. And then critical management studies, very important part of the contemporary management discourse, this radical vision of the organization and management, using the power perspective, rooted in radical visions of the panopticon of Michel Foucault, neo-Marxist, Frankfurt School approach, and so on and so on. What is important here, it's like the mirror of the discipline that is in danger to be too instrumentalist, concentrating only on the market, only or mainly on the competition, on the economical part of the endeavor. Part of the management scholars may forget about this critical part, that even using the approach of the resources to human, like in the name of the subdiscipline, human resources management, we are treating people instrumentally. Yes, and the critical management studies using qualitative methods, deep reflexive methods of the emancipation, intervention, using parities, making kind of the demystification of the instrumental management practices, can show us that marketing can be very instrumental, manipulative subdiscipline. Strategic management can be just the discourse of the control of the people and the organization, taken into account mainly the interest of the owners and the power holders in the organization. That human resources management can be treated like a group of the technique, instrumentally using the people in the organization. And the critics is one side of the critical management studies, and the development of the more humanistic approach to the organization, to the people, more equal, more sustainable, more really ethic-oriented. By ethic, I mean here human ethic, and not a manager's ethic or a enterprise ethic that is limited deontology. Here, critical management studies want to have the wider approach. And the last, that I don't want to take too much time, is postmodernism. I think that postmodernism is losing ground, and actually the role of the postmodernists is taken out by the critical management studies and the interpretivistic approach. This is probably because of such a skeptical approach to science, to scientific truth, and in some way it makes the science as an endeavor, even this, let's say, soft approach, not a research but an inquiry, it makes in some way endeavor that is not possible under the radical postmodernistic approach. So my perspective is that actually critical management studies and the interpretativist approach are main paradigms for humanistic perspective in this moment. So wrapping up today's lecture, today's speech, this is the part of the cognitive reflection in management that focused on humanistic management. Even in humanistic management, we have the multi-paradigm view. We can see that from the Barrel and Morgan perspective by the lenses of the interpretativism or radical approach, or the other one. But we have no possibility to build a, let's say, one paradigm for humanistic management in this moment. We will be in many areas here. Pluralism, methodological pluralism, it's an obvious meta-methodological approach in humanistic management, which is a strong side because we are going deep with a reflexivity. We can even use the multi-paradigm perspective to one research. From the other side, we can have the problem of the incommensurability of the phenomena that we would like to describe. So thank you very much for the today's lecture. I hope that in some way this is the basic epistemological reflection about the humanistic management. I would like to wish Dr. Michał Szostak, Collegium Civitas, and all of the participants of today's inauguration that the development of this humanistic branch in the Polish non-public important university will be developing and will go on with new exciting opportunities for all of us. Thank you very much for your attention.
So now I would like to start our short discussion. So please use coffee, cookies, as you wish. The discussion about especially speeches of our advisory board members about your vision of the future development of humanistic management and management aesthetics as well, and the potential role of institute like ours. So what do you suggest to us, to researchers, let's say younger researchers, what we should do, what we should focus on to be somehow efficient? Because in my opinion, making research about effects of humanistic management or results is not the most important thing. In my opinion, somehow we should find a way how to convince, let's say, a regular employee in Poland or in any other country to be more sensitive on humanity instead of financial result, for example. What would you suggest to us as a research institute? What should we do to be efficient in achieving this goal? So according to the time limitations, I would like to ask Professor Kostera to be the first speaker here. Professor Kostera, please advise to us.
Good afternoon, and thank you very much for the invitation. Unfortunately, I will have to leave rather soon, but it is an important day, the opening of the Humanistic Management Institute. As for advice about effective management practice, I'm afraid I have nothing much to share. But I certainly have the best wishes for you as a research institute, exploring and reflecting on issues and various issues related to humanistic management, and they are many. It's a rich tradition to continue working on. Because it is certainly true that if we have seen further, it is by standing on the shoulders of giants And as it happens, there are two of them here with us, at least two, but in particular two of them. We have Steve Lindstedt and we have Antonio Strati, who are among the co-founders, I'd say, of the tradition of humanistic management and the aesthetics of management and organizing. We have all of us who have joined the discussion a bit later, we have been so lucky to have your books and your writings and ideas with us. And of course, I know I'm fully aware of that. You also have your books that you have been using in the same way as we have been using your books. In Poland, there is also a tradition of humanistic management, which we can be proud of. There is, first of all, most importantly, we have Professor Emil Orzechowski from Krakow, who is the founder of the discipline, the academic discipline of humanistic management, and the first faculty of a major Polish university, which was for a long time dedicated to research in humanistic management. We also have the Polish founder of organizational historiography here among us, Professor Tomasz Ochinowski, who not only explores the ideas of history and also the practices of management historically, but also is quite famous for his interdisciplinary approaches, his genuinely interdisciplinary approach to organization and management studies. And finally, we have the Humanistic Management Network representatives among us, which is also a very interesting institution dedicated to these issues, active globally. And as it happens, I have been among the team who created the Polish chapter. Actually, we did that together with Christina Schwabenland in London in 2017 in November during a meeting of the network, and we decided to hand over the leadership for the chapter to younger researchers in Krakow, which was then the center for humanistic research in Poland. So to summarize, what I would love to see happening is for you to take over the sort of the heritage, and or to based on, not take over, based on the heritage, which is very, very rich and interesting and very vibrant, very much alive. This is nothing that is just of historical interest, even though the historical interest is very vibrant as well. It's also an interesting line of research, and I would just like to see what you will be developing, especially in the area of music and management, which is quite novel and quite fascinating. Although we do have researchers not present here who are interested in that area. Tommy Jensen from Stockholm and Michał Zawadzki from Uppsala in Sweden. So good luck, and I will be very much interested in following your work and the development of ideas. And sorry, but I will have to disconnect in a few minutes. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your input. Thank you. So because Professor Costera mentioned Professor Strati and Professor Lindstedt, so let's hear Professor Strati. What are you suggesting to us?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Well, good morning, and thanks for the invitation. Thanks to the rector and the vice rector, and mainly to Michael Został for involving me in and including me in the advisory board of your institute. I don't know why I accepted, but I think it was mainly the idea of something new, something novel that could be done in academia, about research, about management. And when we spoke later on, it was, I think, your enthusiasm in this new adventure and study organizational life. And I think that this was the main point, novelty, which is also in if you like, the paradox that we can make immediately about the humanistic management. And what about post-humanist management? This could be a line of research, but I don't want to suggest research to researchers who have their passions, their field of studies, their areas, their social life. But just to say that we have to look at something which is fresh, new in itself, and which is in the methodology, in the philosophy, in the epistemology of research, but also in the area of study, without losing the main point that I wanted to stress here, also because it was a bit lacking in the presentation that your colleague made, which is the body, our bodies, our corporeality. And this is my field. This is aesthetics. This is the sense of my research in the last 3 decades. But this is very important. Also, if studying post-humanist world, post-humanist way, the organizational life, because the body is still rich and important with the perceptive faculties, the passions, the creativity, the intuitions. This is a very, very, very important, and you know better than me because you are an organist, if I
Yes.
am right.
Yes.
And myself, I love organ concerts, and when in Paris, Notre Dame was still on. It's unbelievable that Notre Dame burnt in our century. Now it's something unbelievable. But this takes us in the something that you cannot foresee, something that is a casual, something that happens and arrives in our life, which is so much organized from a digital world, artificial intelligence, and we are not just a body. We are a complex set of numbers for all the institutions that which are important for us, that we cross where we work, health system, etc., etc. So this is it. This is really something that could be to consider in the studies that the researchers of the Institute want make in that passion. But this is just, if you like, an attitude which links the empirical research that for me is very important. We don't have just to reflect ourselves. We have also to put ourselves in the midst of the world, in the world, with a philosophy. Because, as you know, I am very keen to the study of philosophy and the mixing up now and all these fields, different fields of study. So with my best wishes, but also with the fact that we have networks already about this, and that you know, because you just entered in the ACO network recently, and that we have journals from organizational aesthetics till culture and organization, but organization will have access in several places. And yes, this will help you. And this is my best wishes for the new institute and for the novelty that you are doing. The best.
Grazie mille, Professore. Thank you. We will do. Professor Lindstedt, your turn.
Thank you, Michal, for inviting me to join the board. It's a great honour, and it's a very exciting prospect to be invited to contribute to the evolution of this institute. Monica mentioned standing on the shoulders of giants, and I'd certainly consider myself to be one of the dwarves. But I'm reminded that, you know, in the circus, there are lots of dwarfs, and they end up making towers which go much bigger than any individual giant can contribute. So my approach is that these sorts of institutes are welcome, because together we can actually build something which is far bigger and far grander than any individuals can. So that said, I think my position is pretty much that I believe that studying humanization is important, because I believe that in a time when humanity is accused of all manner of planetary villainy, and the age of post-humanity is heralded as the end of the Anthropocene, we need to engage our humanity in all its contradictions and all its hypocrisies more intensively, to uncover what we need to, and our planet needs us to, become. And there's no finer medium for such self-discovery than the arts and humanities. I mean, this is one reason, I think, why the arts and humanities are, paradoxically, both hailed as important sources of creativity and inclusivity by no less than the Harvard Business Review, and simultaneously radically defunded by some of the cradles of civilized, democratic, post-Enlightenment society in the West. In the UK, we've got people who studied the magnificent public legacies of Greece and Rome, who are closing theatres, libraries, and arts and humanities university departments. Our survival as civilized societies depends on our ability to turn back this tide through our own progressive, collective, but simultaneously deeply traditional institutional arrangements. Back in the 1970s, I studied literature. I was active in drama, and I spent a good while as a semi-professional musician, working in a variety of jobs before I eased into management research. I never saw management as a science, but I never saw it as without science. For me, it was an art, because it depended on us bringing out the best of our humanity to keep our shared collective futures evolving. And I was reminded of this period in my life when a friend who's in his 50s and he's just recording his 20th music album, but still has a day job, despite having played the Glastonbury Festival, told me that his youngest son had asked him recently if he, my friend, would ever make it as a musician. He said, I laughed, and then I crunched the numbers. 1.1% of all musicians currently active are considered to be mainstream or elite. They represent 87.3% of all Facebook traffic, 88.4% of all Twitter/X traffic, and 79% of all YouTube plays. That means you are exponentially more likely to grow if you are already big. There's the giants again, which is, of course, our monopolies and privilege work until they choke on their own inertia. If you're under 25 years old, you have a 0.01 chance of making it. Over 25, it's 0.00001%. Over 50, there simply aren't enough zeros. So he told him that making it wasn't the point. Making art was. He said, people need live music because it's far more important to who we are as human beings than any statistics could prove. And I just want to be the best I can be as a human being. I told him, we are our own measure, and that success and failure were imposters he should never trust. Now, some of you, I think, will hear echoes of Alexander Pope and Rudyard Kipling and others from your own cultures that I may never have heard of, but desperately need to, in what my friend said. His son simply replied, well, that's a no then. Correct, my friend concurred. But 98.9% of all musicians are outsiders like me. I'm in good company. I'm where life is. Music is just one of the arts, but my guess is that the numbers are similar, and so's the rationale. It's not about the money or others' measures of success or competition or efficiency or control or domination or efficient extraction of enhanced value all along the chain. Art is indeed far more important to who we are as human beings than any statistics could prove. And us bringing to fruition all the potential of our humanity is vital for the futures of our societies, our environment, and the other non-humans with whom we share them. So we are the 99%. Our life is our art. But only the 1% for whom art is their life has the chance of getting heard, let alone making the decisions, controlling the channels, and mortgaging our collective futures. But when we are together, we feel the power of the transmission of affect. When we are together through art, we are bigger, stronger, more sensitive, more alert, kinder, more caring, more loving, and more together. We are the giants. The myth of the solitary creative is a myth, but it's a powerful and persistent one. Each creative, no matter what their talent, is a focal nexus where several influences intersect. Readers, audiences, supporters, cafe waiters, street ambulance, families, friends, colleagues, stories, poems, fragments of conversation or music, technologies and crafts, objectives and atmospheres, events, teachers, the police, places and workplaces, companion animals, those we love and those we've lost. The margins are not on the outer edge. They are the vital centres of intercrossing between worlds, where shoots of several rhizomes meet and move on. But as such, they're vulnerable and they need a little support, protection, respect and curation to help them springboard the new and rechannel the venerable. Institutions like this Institute of Management Research, the Collegium Civitas, are needed to perform the vital work of keeping open channels through liminal spaces. They are needed to affirm the deep value of such liminality to who we are, continue to be, and may become together. And they are needed to help us to form the next creative and curated iterations of peaceful human society, economy, and morality. So doing this revitalised formation of management in the company of other species and in environmental conditions that we daily come to understand more fully will help us, in all humility, to understand the wonder of ourselves.
Thank you very much, Steve. Thank you, dear professor. Thank you. Manuela, Abdul, Professor Twarnowicz, Professor Reimann, are you ready to speak to us?
Yes, thank you very much. Yes, I'm ready. Thank you, Michal, for inviting. I have very interesting journey. I mean, listening to you, to your scientists, to the guests, and I was thinking all the time how I can contribute, what I can suggest. By my expertise is economics, and humanistic management is something not in my area. But what I'm thinking, I just your introduction was very impressive, especially when you talked about approaches to management, about human being assets, and as far as I remember, we call people human resources, what is extremely popular approach, yes. But what I think now, and in the context of the current wars and other disasters, yes, that we need to, through humanistic management, maybe we can reach more efficient functioning of organization. Humanistic management, what I think, it is of course the virtue itself, but anyway, it has to have very clearly formulated purposes. One purpose, of course, it is human being itself, but we cannot lose another focus. It is contribution to modern organization. You know, being an economist, I cannot think through different lenses than economic. But what I believe truly is that your research and your approach to management, this novel and humanistic approach, can contribute a lot, contribute to the wish of people to participate in various activities, not only, arts, what is very important, but also participate in creation of organization, and ultimately to make all organizations more humanistic. So I really believe that there is time to switch from human resources to human beings and humanistic management. I think that you have got very nice niche, and this very good niche and very contemporary. The time is timely what we see. So I wish you the best. I will contribute what is within my expertise, of course. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Manuela. I appreciate. Thank you very much. Professor Rayman, are you with us? Professor Rayman is from Malaysia, probably the further.
Yes, yes, I'm
good.
here.
Welcome.
Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Michael, for this opportunity to say a few words, and also after listening to all the presentations done, I am very highly impressed with your organization structure and your drive forward. Being a country in Asia, especially Southeast Asia, we progressively embrace humanistic management. And this is where I think your organization, or your institution rather, can play a very crucial role here, as it emphasizes the interest of employees in the management-employee relationship. It is good for Asia's future workforce, because humanistic management has high value on human growth, potential, and dignity. Therefore, I see or envision the way your institution can play a role is to educate, especially the community, the workforce in Asia, also to put more of emphasis on the respectful and fair treatment for the employees. They tend to sometimes not look at this part of management, which I think now your organization can play a big role in contributing and helping us. We envision that this approach will make managers in my country, Malaysia, care for how they accomplish the goal. So they will consider all these corporate social responsibility, ethical codes, which will augur well for the organization in the long run. In terms of aesthetic management, I think it really contributes a lot towards management, and I think the role of your institution, again, once more, will help as it contributes to thinking out of the box as compared to the traditional way of management, as it will introduce a lot of more sensitivity into the Asian management domain, which is currently very imbued with traditional approaches, especially in today's turbulent and radically changing business environment. Organizations, especially in Asia, Southeast Asia, are actually looking for innovative approaches to change. Therefore, I think in this respect, aesthetic management will still particularly be relevant. And this is where, again, I feel, Dr. Michael, your institution together with your colleagues will be, and all the co-researchers will be able to play a key role. The aesthetic approach can definitely potentially improve management in Asian universities if we want to reinvent to meet the challenges of the global competition today. So once again, I thank you very much for actually bringing about this drive, especially where the workforce today is challenged. And speaking from a person, like I said, in Southeast Asia, I think the humanistic approach and the aesthetic management approach has been espoused by your colleagues can play a very big role in helping us in this part of the continent. Thank you, Dr. Michael. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to have you. Thank you. Now I will ask Professor Ochinowski to say his opinion, his suggestions for us.
Thank you very much. And it is very difficult and very easy to have a voice after this outstanding participants. This is very difficult because in my position, this is only one way to feel as a barbarian in the garden. But it is easy at the same way because, you know, this discussion was opened by the real creator of humanistic approach, Professor Strati, Professor Listit, and Professor Costera. And, you know, I have to be very short. What we have to do? Reread their books and to be inspired by their ideas. You know, I give you the one example, it's only one. The Archetypes and Organization by Monica Costera. It is still our inspiration, our beginning, our way, and our horizon. And so this is the same with Professor Strati and Professor Listit books and ideas. But of course, even Barbaria has some rights in the gardens. And so I try to use them. To be invited by our chief, who is also the organs players, it is absolutely obligatory that if you allow me, I only focus on the example of potential relation between music and management. And as a barbarian, I would like to stress that this relation is our task, because the danger is too simplistic, to be too simple, to you know this, but a real relation is a little bit complicated. There is a nice Tibetanian story. It is the story which is described the situation of one small country inside the Tibetan tradition. And in this country, there were a good prince and a very bad witch. And so good prince developed a very humanistic style of leadership. The witch presented the opposite one. She handicapped animals, destroyed coals, so on, so on. And so the prince came to the witch and asked her, please change yourself. And she said, of course, I'm ready. But I only need one support, love. And so the prince was very humanistic oriented, so he put it in love with witch. And the result was Yeti. And my dears, this is the danger and challenge when two very different fields we try to link. Of course, in our story, music in a self-defense field, because this is a practice, you know, which is analyzed by philosophy, by practical science, psychology, and also we can treat music as a part of culture management. And what are the chance from the other sides? I propose very humbly 3 levels of relations. The first as my colleague, the reflective manager, the reflective practitioner of management, Mirosław Jeziorski, said, remember, Professor, that music, it is also kind of management. This is the management of our emotions and imagination. So the first way is to use music as a managerial tool, also for research. The second chance is the practice. Hannu Salmi, the Finnish historian, showed us more than 20 years ago that the organizers of piano concerts in 19th century Europe, probably they were the first modern managers. And so there are probably our roots. And the third level is to change practice. And so this is the most emotional point of my being, my small speech here. Because, you know, I know what the place is in which we meet together. This is Palace of Culture. And so, not so far away, on Nowogrodzka Street, just after the war, it was invented a very current and very interesting initiative, which was called the New Culture of Work. This initiative was developed by journalists, entrepreneurs, and writers, and they added the so-called Tygodnik Warszawski, the Warsaw Weekly, and the idea was that what we need for both, for artist and manager, is to meet together and to exchange practices. Unfortunately, because of the idea, all were sent to prison. And the symbol of this, how to say, aggressive activity is Palace of Culture. And after years, they can win. That we, especially you, in this space, on Palace of Culture, we can continue these meetings. These three levels, you know, music as a tool for management, the historical experiences of positions, and just establish meetings and exchange ideas and practices. To summarize, the Polish composer Wojciech Kilar, who died 10 years ago, was one day asked by Polish field directors, Krzysztof Zanussi, to prepare the music for the movie. And Zanussi asked Kilar, please write me some music for my film, but on this level, like you do it for the other composer, Andrzej Wajda. And the Kilar's answer was following. I would be happy to do so. With what condition? Give me as good movie as Wajda's are. And this is our chance. The Collegium Civitas should be this good movie.
Perfect. I see that Jenna Ward joined our meeting. Jenna, would you like to share your opinion about future of humanistic management, about potential role of institutes like ours in this journey?
Thank you, Michael, and apologies if I was late. I've prepared some short notes, so hopefully they'll be in line with the other speakers. So I'd like to start off by saying a little bit about my background. So I'm currently the Dean of the College of Business and Law at Coventry University. I'm co-director of the Art of Management alongside Steve Linstead, and I've spent my career researching emotions in organisations. So I was delighted to receive Michael's invitation, because it's a kind of bringing together all of these kind of parts of my working life together. So just some kind of reflections, I guess. As Dean of the College of Business and Law, I have a role in delivering, obviously at a strategic level, business education, particularly in the UK, but for a very kind of broad international group of students. I think it's interesting then to reflect on the fact that UK business schools educate 1 in 6 of all students and 1 in 3 of all international students in the UK. So it's a significant reach, if you like. And with this scale in mind, we can't afford for management education to be focused only on educating tomorrow's business elite, and neither can its success be measured by graduates' salaries. So business schools then play a pivotal role in ensuring a better tomorrow, a tomorrow that's defined by care, equality and sustainability. And as ambitious educators in pursuit of that better tomorrow, we need to think differently, speak differently, and feel, I would argue. So through a kind of culture, I guess, of inclusivity and business schools can have a transformative impact on the values of their students and the way that they do business in the future. So I think what's interesting is this kind of responsibility, I feel, given the reach that business schools have, to elevate value and understanding of pro-social values, self-transcendental values. So this ties in quite nicely, I think, with the ambition of the Research Institute, in the sense that we need to start or work on really developing ways in which we can think differently about management, about organisations, about what constitutes good business. And that starts with the way that we approach research, the way that we think about the research tools that we develop, and how we communicate the impact of those research findings. So thinking about my own research then, that has looked at emotions in organisational contexts, I think despite the emotional turn in management studies that's quite often referred to, we still see this marginalisation of emotion, and that can be quite acute if we think about more negative emotions, those that are paid to scare or to challenge. But it's also the case with other types of emotion in organisations. And so we need to have a vocabulary that feels equitable to other forms of quantitative evaluations of business and management. And then to finish, really reflecting on my role as co-director of the Art of Management and Organisation for the last 10 years, I think I'm incredibly proud of what we've achieved in terms of being able to hold a space that has enabled the conversations between management and the arts. And that has required us to really support a lot of the kind of suspension of the value systems so that people feel able to innovate, experiment, and also to fail in a space that accepts difference. So I think we've done a pretty good job of that over the past 10 years, and we hope that we can continue to do that, because I think the challenges facing society in the broadest sense of the term, both on international, national and global scales really requires us to adopt a different way of thinking, feeling and seeing. And it's great to see that this research institution is just one of the ways in which we can really open up that conversation. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you, Jenna. Thank you for your inputs. As the summary of this part, I would like to also play the speech of Professor Sułkowski, short speech about, let's say, his opinion, his suggestions, what he should do in.
Thank you very much for the invitation to the advisory board of Institute of Management, Institute of Humanistic Management in Collegium Civitas. I think it is in Poland, but also from the perspective of the global management, there is a place for such a development. Many important issues that can be taken as a subject of the research. My area of interest is connected to the cognitive and methodological basis of the humanistic management, and I think it can be important area of the analysis. I think that area that is the specialty of the director of the institute, Dr. Michał Szostak, is management treated as an art, issues of the artistic management, also issues of the kitsch in management, and I think we can develop this perspective because it has not only a theoretical background but also practical one. I think that many managers are looking for the inspiration in art. They perceive themselves, not only managers, specialists, people in the organizations, they perceive themselves as humanists, as people who would like to go on with the inspiration, as a creative people. They do not perceive the activity of the organization as a kind of the algorithm, but just the heuristic creative process. And art has a crucial role to play. Actually, in the world of such a fast development of the artificial intelligence, these large language models, maybe this art is a kind of the ivory tower, yeah, the human creativity. I'm just a bit kidding because my metaphor here is Centaurus, so I believe we must work together with an AI and do important things. But actually, artistic management and management as an art, this is important area. The cooperation with artistic schools, this is also important area. There is a lack of the market education for people who are specialized in art. I think that taking art and humanistic approach, it will be very, very useful for them just to see that humanistic management can be applied by them. So again, thank you very much. I will participate in works of the Institute with pleasure, and I wish all the best for all of you. Thank you.
Okay, now it's time for a speech of Ernst von Klimakowicz, the head of the Humanistic Management Network.
Hello, and let me first of all congratulate everyone at the Institute for Management Research on this fantastic day, the inauguration of this new institution that is having the ambition and the desire to make an impact on humanistic management. And of course I welcome that very much, and unfortunately I cannot be with you today as I'm traveling, but nonetheless I'm very happy that Michal and I agreed that we would be able to record a short video message that I can leave for you to say hello and to say how much I am happy to hear that institutions looking more strongly at humanistic management are emerging all over the world. And now we have one more in Warsaw as well. And for that, I want to congratulate you and express how happy I am to see your institute growing and flourishing and hopefully developing very nicely in the future. I am, of course, on one side happy because it is growing the community of humanistic management scholars and people that I work with closely and that I collaborate with. And that is always a nice and beautiful thing to experience. But at the same time, there's a more profound reason, I believe, which is that we need more humanistic management to address the challenges that we're facing as a global community. Now, what are those challenges that I'm talking about? And I think there are mainly two macro challenges that we're confronted with as a global community today. And for both of those, humanistic management can have a tremendously positive impact. Now, what are those two macro challenges that I'm talking about? I think they are firstly the environmental and secondly the distributional challenge. Now, when I say environmental challenge, of course, first of all, most of us will think about climate change. It has been so dominant on the policy agenda, in the media, and also in our personal lives over the last years, that when we hear the environment, we instantly connect it with climate change, the climate crises, or more generally issues around a warming planet and how we can accommodate to that and what we can do to mitigate. And the bottom line, though, is that the climate change is only one of the environmental challenges that we're facing. Environmental challenges are a whole bundle of questions that we need to address, which are interlinked and interconnected. And on top of climate change, we have biodiversity, and we have a challenge in depleting biodiversity, which is absolutely vital for intact food chains. We have the quality of soil, we have the quality of water, we have the quality of air that are all under threat. And so when we're putting together this whole bundle, then we're seeing that we have a whole group of environmental challenges that we urgently need to address. And that is the first macro challenge I want to introduce. The second macro challenge I want to talk about is the distributional challenge. And again, with distribution, we instantly think about income distribution. And yes, of course, income distribution is a dominant and an important part of distributional questions, but distributional questions are bigger than just income. And if we want to look at a more general framing for the distributional challenge, I would say it is about access. It is about access to housing, about access to healthcare, access to education, access to a safe environment, access to a whole bundle of things that allow for a dignified and self-determined life. And both of these challenges, the distributional challenge and the environmental challenge, I think we need to be acutely aware, and I think we are increasingly aware, that we will only be able to address them successfully if business organizations step up their effort to play a positive and a constructive role in finding solution to these challenges we have. And that's really where humanistic management comes in, because with humanistic management and the three-stepped approach to humanistic management that I developed, I believe we can provide some positive stimulus. We can provide an anchor for reflection to organizations so that they can see how we can become more productive in using business organizations as agents for solutions to the challenges we face. And the good news here is, of course, this will be good for business in the long run also. And so we're really having this coming together of the necessity of one side to address challenges that we're confronted with. And at the same time, we have the situation that those business organizations that are actively embracing an enhanced role as agents of finding solutions to challenges we're confronted with are already, and in the future even more, will be rewarded for their contributions. So let me talk a little bit in a few words about the three-stepped approach to humanistic management, because it is really vital to know, of course, how we in the Humanistic Management Network define humanistic management. And the foundation and the basic element in it is the respect, or to make it more precise, the unconditional respect for the dignity of life. Now, this is really something that is at the heart of a humanistic management approach, the way we're looking at it. And what do we mean by that? Well, you know, if I talk to executives, I have hardly ever, or never in fact, heard anyone telling me, well, this dignity stuff is nonsense, we don't need that. So it is something that people very readily and quickly agree on. Yes, it is important that we show and demonstrate respect for the dignity of life. But what does that mean? And when you see what does that mean, and is that the case, is dignity respected in all cases, then of course we find no shortage of situations where the dignity of life is not respected in the ways business organizations operate. And so addressing this is the first central element in a humanistic management paradigm. And this goes for both. This goes for the way in how respect is demonstrated within organizations, so the whole intra-organizational aspect, but it also, of course, includes stakeholders. It includes the question to what degree a business organization has a positive or an adverse effect on stakeholders to live a dignified life, and on the natural environment to be respected for its intrinsic value. Now, the second step in humanistic management is the integration of ethical reflection in management decisions. And that sounds like a big word, but what do we mean with that? With that, we essentially mean that we need to move away from what in business ethics we label the corrective logic, where we're doing things in ways that we know they will go wrong, and then we have to spend a lot of time, energy, money to fix it again. So it's a corrective logic that we're encountering quite often among business organizations, where the primary objective is to maximize profit, to look at the financial returns, and then when things go wrong, you have to spend and invest heavily in order to fix them. And now in humanistic management, we say it is smarter, and in the long run, it is also better for business if you're running an integrative approach rather than this corrective approach. And with an integrative approach, we mean that we're asking those questions of environmental relevance, of ethical relevance, already in the decision-making process, that we don't run into situations where we're building things in the way that we know they will break. You know, we know that at some point an oil platform will blow up, at some point a factory roof is going to collapse on the workers, because we took shortcuts when we were building these things, because we did not integrate ethical considerations when building these things. And then we have the unwanted events later on. And with humanistic management, and the second step in humanistic management, we are mitigating the risk of these negative effects, of these negative events occurring when we're integrating ethical questions in management decisions. And now the third element, the third core part of humanistic management, is the active and ongoing engagement with stakeholders. And that is really the questions of how do you bring the rubber to the road. You know, you can say, well, this is all very good, respecting dignity. Yes, we should. Integrating ethics in management decision, it makes a lot of sense. But what now? How do we operationalize that? And in humanistic management, we say one way of operationalizing, one way of taking the next step to make sure this can translate into real operational changes and ways in which people are running their businesses is talk to your stakeholders, engage with those interests that are affected by the decisions that businesses take. And then you will have the opportunity to learn with and from each other. You will have the opportunity to reflect on your ethical integration in your management decisions and hear what do others think about that. Am I on the right track when I'm taking the decisions the way I'm taking it? Or do I receive additional input that will make my decisions better, that will ensure that we are more prepared to find solutions and to run businesses in a way that we're addressing successfully the two macro challenges that I have introduced in the beginning. So that is just a very quick roundup of why humanistic management is a good idea, because it helps us to address the challenges that we're confronted with, that we're facing as a global community. And secondly, how do we define humanistic management? What is it in the first place? Well, humanistic management is the 3 steps, the way we define it in the Humanistic Management Network, of unconditional respect for the dignity of life. Secondly, the integration of ethical considerations in management decisions. And thirdly, the active and ongoing engagement with stakeholders. And with that, once again, big congratulations to everyone involved in starting and founding this Institute for Management Research. A very, very good and successful opening I'm wishing you, and I'm much looking forward to our future collaborations, and I'm wishing you all the best and a lot of success on this new venture. Bye-bye.
And now we will ask Kemi from Nigeria to share her opinion.
I am Kemi Ogunyemi, Professor of Business Ethics at Lagos Business School and Atlantic University. Thank you for inviting me to the inauguration of substantive activities of the Institute for Management Research at Collegium Civitas and to join the advisory board. In this short clip, I share my vision of the future development of humanistic management and management aesthetics as fields for research. Humanistic management entails a striving to constantly and consistently respect human dignity, protect human rights, and promote human flourishing in organizations. Management aesthetics brings the perspectives of art and creativity into management studies. This is important for various reasons. One of them is that aesthetic experience is one of the 7 major aspects of human fulfillment. People derive happiness from music, art, the beauty of nature, order, design, and so on. I expect studies in humanistic management and management aesthetics to deepen our understanding regarding this, such that more workspaces could use the power of aesthetic experience to accentuate their respect for human dignity and enhance their contribution to their people's flourishing. This is clearly one area in which humanistic organizations can make a difference to their employees, customers, and other stakeholders. People spend most of their day at work. They deserve to enjoy some beauty at work. Research questions on the impact of aesthetic experience at work, order and design, music, art, nature, on fulfillment at work, ethical decision-making, healthy relationships, individual and team performance and productivity, etc., could be interesting projects for institutes like this one to initiate and support. In Africa, the appreciation of beauty is tied to ethical behavior, to care and respect for others in the community, and to environmental conservation. Concretely, in Yoruba land, which extends beyond the shores of Nigeria, the adage Iwalewa means good character is beauty or ethics is beauty. Traditionally, therefore, wickedness is ugliness and repels. Thus, unethical behavior may be disguised with euphemisms to hide its ugliness. For example, the artificially contrived confusion between bribery and gifting, much like that between bribery and lobbying in other climes. Research into how and why this happens and its effects and solutions could be another nexus for humanistic management and management aesthetics research for Institutes of Management Research to promote. Finally, in spaces like the Institute for Management Research at Collegium Civitas, studies can be carried out to explore the beauty of being good and doing good in terms of its impact on happy and fulfilling relationships at work and in the rest of life. In this regard, I see such institutes projected into the future as hubs for creating management knowledge about incorporating aesthetics into workspaces in such a way as to enable the people in them to flourish physically, psychologically, mentally, and morally. Even in cases where work is necessarily accompanied by clutter, dirt, noise, and so on, research can reveal what kind of aesthetic experience might be incorporated to benefit people in those situations. I leave you with these 3 thoughts. Aesthetic experience is an important aspect of human fulfillment. Iwalewa, good character is beauty. The space in which work is done matters. Thank you for listening.
And the word of our godmother, Mary Jo Hatch.
Hi, I'm here virtually, I guess, to say thank you so much for accepting me as your godmother. I wish I could be your fairy godmother. That way, maybe I could be with you today, but I can't. So instead, let me just confer my best wishes and great greetings on the Institute for Management Research at the Collegium Civitas. I hope all the best for you in your studies of humanistic management and management aesthetics. And sorry to say I don't have a vision for any of that because I'm long retired and now painting, and my vision is there. So that's how I capture vision these days. Let me know how you're all doing. Keep me posted, and let me know how I can help. Best wishes. Bye.
And please, Steve Taylor from Worcester Polytechnic, please share your opinion about humanistic management.
Let me start by thanking you. I feel honored to be asked to be part of the advisory board. And also let me apologize for not being able to be there in person or even to be able to Zoom synchronously, such as the modern world we live in. And speaking of the modern world we live in, being asked to make these remarks has made me wonder to think a bit about that modern world. And the modern world I live in is at a business school. And when I look around that world, I see the enormous advances of the last century by most of my colleagues. I look at what our friends in operations and industrial engineering have done in terms of creating the modern logistics industry and the way in which we move stuff all over the world for incredibly small amounts of money, and think, wow, that's amazing. I look at what our friends in finance have done, whether it's credit swap defaults or other complex financial instruments. I think, wow, that's amazing, and maybe some other things as well. But it's amazing how much all these fields have advanced. And then I look at leadership, my field, and I wonder how much we've advanced in the last century. And I'm not convinced we have advanced enormously, or perhaps even at all. And I think that is in part because we have tried to emulate the sciences. And leadership is not well suited to emulating the sciences. At a start, we have to question, do we even know what leadership is? Do we know it when we see it? And I'm often reminded of a favorite quote of mine from Lao Tzu, the great Chinese philosopher. This was roughly maybe 2,600 years ago, said, to lead people, walk beside them. As for the best leaders, the people do not notice their existence. The next best, the people honor and praise. The next, the people fear. And the next, the people hate. When the best leader's work is done, the people say, we did it ourselves. I hear that and I think, yeah, that is my idea of leadership. But it also implies that most of us won't know it when we see it or even be aware of it when it happens well. And that makes it kind of a difficult thing to apply the ideals of science to. If you're not really aware that it's happening, if you can't see it, if you can't measure it, it's hard to know if you're actually getting better at it. And I think it's perhaps the misguided application of scientific approaches and thinking to leadership and management that is why we haven't actually advanced much. The alternative, of course, is the humanities and arts. And I see much hope there. The humanities and arts allow us to embrace paradox, complexity, contradiction. They allow us to do this by embracing the particular and realizing that particular, that way art forms embrace a particular thing, somehow generalizes more than if we tried to find generalized rules in the form of science. And it is my hope and my belief that by embracing the particular, And using humanistic and artistic approaches, we can come to much better understandings of leadership and management, leadership in particular, since that's my field. I see great potential in the use of aesthetic categories, such as the beautiful and the grotesque. I think that the idea of, rather than looking for effective leadership, if we're concerned with beautiful leadership, we might very well get someplace very interesting. That isn't to say beautiful is necessarily synonymous with ethical, but it is certainly it's kind of one of those umbrella things that brings together a variety of different stuff going on and allows us to focus on it. That I think the idea of beautiful leadership is enormously important. And I think the opposite of that is perhaps grotesque leadership. Rather than the ugly, I think the grotesque may in some ways be the opposite of beauty. That's a much longer argument than I'm going to make here, and I'm sure many people would disagree with me on it. But I think both are incredibly important for navigating our way forward. And I think the real future of leadership and management more broadly is in the humanities and arts, and these approaches that embrace subjectivity and embrace the particular human experience rather than trying to generalize that in some scientific way. So I'm excited about this, and I look forward to seeing and hearing what you all are doing on this. And I particularly look forward to seeing submissions to Organizational Aesthetics, a journal that I founded around these sorts of topics. I look forward to meeting you in person at the Art of Management and Organization Conference next year in Nancy, in France, in August of 2024. So having said that, enjoy, and thank you again.
Okay, thank you very much. I think we reached the destination according to the time. It's 2 minutes past 3. So thank you for your gathering. I am happy to have advisory board to be among our researchers, to have associate researchers, and I think and I hope we will have a good results of our activity. So thank you very much to all people online, to all persons in person, so we can eat our cookies now. So thank you again. I wish you all the best and see you soon. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All the best.
Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you
all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Michael. Thank you, everybody.